Hometown station WDVR-FM 89.7 in Delaware Township, New Jersey, and WPNJ 90.7 Harmony Township, New Jersey, and streaming on the World Wide Web at WDVRFM.org.
You are listening to Surround Sounds on WDVR. I'm your host, Shaun, and this is music of the Delaware Valley, both made here and heard here. And today we have a special guest who is not from the Delaware Valley, but is touring the Delaware Valley currently from Kathmandu, Nepal, halfway around the world. Suren Lama is an instrumental guitarist who plays what he calls global fusion. And we're going to talk to Suren about his musical journey and his physical journey from Nepal all the way here to the Delaware Valley. Some of you might have seen him today at the New Hope Arts Festival, and so we're just very lucky to have him come into the studio as our guest today. So don't go anywhere. He'll be coming up at the top of the hour. The music we heard just now was music that will be heard at Porch Fest, and Suren will be heard at Porch Fest as well. At Mary Sheridan Park at noon on this Saturday, October 4th. And we heard I'm Ready by Those Looks. Those Looks will be performing at Mary Sheridan Park at 5 p.m. And we also heard Little Flowers with So Close It Feels Far before that. Little Flowers will be playing at 5 o'clock at 61 Clinton Street. So you might have to make a decision there if you want to see Little Flowers or Those Looks. But again, either choice is a good one. And you'll have fun either way. Before that, we had Clover with My Kind of Woman, her new release. That's the John Rooney remix. And Clover will also be performing at Porch Fest this weekend. You're listening to, in the background, Beppe Gambetta with a number of other musicians. This is called Costumi Siciliani. Real quick before the top of the hour and before we get Suren on here for the interview, I just want to let you all know that the Red Hill Museum Village in Clinton is thrilled to announce the return of its largest annual fundraiser, the Haunted Red Mill. With 10 acres of terror, twisted mazes, eerie encounters, and a walk through the famously haunted historic Red Mill, where local legends and real ghost stories collide. The Haunted Red Mill will run Friday and Saturday nights, October 3rd through the 25th, offering brave souls a night of unforgettable fear and fun in one of New Jersey's most iconic haunted attractions. The Haunted Red Mill also offers family-friendly and behind-the-scenes experiences. Visit theredmill.org for details and tickets. All right, don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back with Suren in just a moment. Well, you just heard Suren Lama all the way from Kathmandu, Nepal, live here in the WDVR studios. Suren is on his first U.S. tour here in the Delaware Valley, and so it's a real treat to have him in the studio today playing music for us. And I want to welcome you, Suren. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shaun, for having me here on the radio. It's good to be here, New Jersey. Yeah, thank you, Shaun.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's been quite a journey, both physically and also just over the decades. Honing your craft has been a journey, I'm sure. And I wanted to ask you what it was like growing up in Nepal and learning the guitar. Maybe you could just start us off at the beginning of your journey and let us know what was your first step and what were some of your first steps?
Actually, I started playing guitar as a kid, when I was in school, and just strumming and, playing some rock and roll stuff and, the English songs and covers and stuff like that. But as I was growing old, I was attracted to that, and I started, I kept on going and playing on and on. So
this is in what decade? When did you start playing guitar?
Yeah, I must say, 90 or 91, But then I started playing with the band, with my local bands around. And so back in 1997, that's when I started actually playing around with the band in a pub out there in Kathmandu, where I used to get paid. And back then I used to cover, like Doors or, stuff like this, little blues, funk, stuff like this, Jimi Hendrix, stuff like that. And so I was playing in the bar and I was learning. That's how it started, and from then I'm on. So.
Okay, so there was a thriving scene over there in Kathmandu for playing some of these American covers and British cover songs from like the 60s and like classic rock stuff.
Yeah, classic rock stuff. Yeah, I must say that that gave me a platform actually when I was playing around pubs and all. I started at 16 and 17 and. Yeah, that was nice back in those days, and I get a platform to perform. They gave me meals, drinks, and on top of that payment, I was enjoying that, and at the same time I was learning more, learning by playing, and socializing with other musicians. That was the time, and
how did you go from that style of music to the style of music you play now, which is very instrumental on acoustic guitar?
Yeah, that has been a long ride. I mean, I still do rock and roll back home. I still play in a band with, I still love Jimi Hendrix. I still play Jimi Hendrix and stuff. But at the same time, I was involved in other bands also, like as a freelancer, back in around 2000, yeah. I was doing instrumental, like fusion stuff with others also, but in a band. But for my kind of music, that what I do at the moment, it started at around 17, 18, yeah, like that.
That's how old you were when you were starting to play this?
No, 2017.
Oh, 2017. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm getting onto it, day by day, and I'm working on it. And so since 18, I'm touring extensively in Europe, performing this kind of music.
Yeah. Well, that is, you're bringing this to people around the world. So we're thrilled to have you here in the Delaware Valley. I was wondering if you could play maybe another one of your songs for us.
Yeah, sure, Shaun. Actually, this one was, I composed this while I was on a Europe tour in Germany. And this is called Neufan, So actually, I was composing this song there in Neufan. Bavaria.
Neufan is a city in Germany?
No, it's the name of the track is New Drive Bayern. Bayern or Bavaria they call it. So I name it Bayern, and I was staying in Neufan. So I asked my friends. What's the meaning? Noi means new, Fawn means street or drive, you know. So
Oh, okay, new street. Translated. It means new street.
yeah,
Okay,
it was
wonderful.
much easier to name it. So this is new drive.
Excellent. Thank you. You are listening to WDVR Surround Sounds, and we have Suren Lama live in the studio who just performed a track. Suren, can you also remind us what the name of that track is called?
This is called New Drive Bayern. This is New Drive Bayern that I composed in Germany.
Wonderful. And I wanted to ask you about this style of music that you've been playing, you say, since about 2017, 2018. You call it Global Fusion, or this is your Global Fusion tour. So I'm kind of curious about that term. What does that mean to you, and why do you call the tour Global Fusion?
Actually, this kind of music, it's the place where I come from, Nepal, right? The South Asian country. We have this kind of stuff, inspired by ragas, classical music. It's so I got inspired with the classical music also, with ragas and stuff. But at the same time, I was doing Western stuff also, you know. So, but I was playing around early 2000. I was playing with the band, you know, instrumental band, like sitar and tablas and stuff like this, you know. So I was already doing it, actually, the fusion stuff. So I was touring with them also in 2011, 2012, and 15, and so on. But later on, I figured out that I must be doing something for my own. And so this kind of music, you know, on acoustic guitar. Back then I was playing with a band in electric guitar, but I decided I always like the sound of acoustic guitar, how it sounds, you know.
Yeah.
And that has always fascinated me for a long time. So
especially with all the droning that you do as well, you can get such rich notes out of
vibes.
The wood.
Vibes. And so I was playing with various bands, you know, rock and roll, fusion band also. But as I was traveling, and I thought maybe I want to do this kind of music. I think this kind of music is kind of quite unique, you know. So what I'm trying to do, you know, incorporate all the accompaniments from Western style, but still I'm trying to have the Eastern style, and it's kind of a fusion, you know.
And I actually caught you at Soupçon Salon last Friday, and you were talking about even within Nepal itself, there are different regions that have different cultural styles to their music. Can you talk a little bit about that, and maybe even I don't know if you're prepared to demonstrate on the next tune one of those styles, but that would be wonderful if you could.
Yeah, I mean, yes, of course. Actually, yes. I mean, it's a small country, landlocked country, Nepal, you know.
Yeah.
And towards the north, we have Himalayas, you know, and the middle part, it's hilly region. And on the towards the south, it's Tarai, the plainlands, you know. So if you go to Tarai region, you know, the music, the community plays, you know, they have this special music. Actually, we have more than 125. I'm a little confused, maybe 126 dialect in Nepal, small country, but
wow.
That diversity we have. And every community people, like, they have kind of their own music, you know, their traditional instruments. So and I've always been fascinated by the music from Himalayas, you know, this northern part, you know.
Yeah.
So
what is unique about that, would you say?
And
or do you want to just play it and demonstrate?
Yeah, I mean, there's a one track of mine. It's called Himalayan Soul. So I'm gonna, you know, the feeling for the Himalayas, you know. So I'll play this to you, Himalayan Soul.
Sounds perfect. Well, we just heard Himalayan Soul live in the studio by Suren Lama. And Suren is on a U.S. tour, his first U.S. tour, and I could, a long way from home, a long way from the Himalayas, but I could certainly feel that cold mountain air in that song, and it truly is very soulful. Can you talk a little bit about how you composed that, what you were going for, Suren?
Actually, this is the sound, the feeling from the Himalayas, out there. Actually, I was inspired with the instrument called tungna. It's the traditional instrument from the Himalayas. It's a little like a lute size, and it's a string instrument, but it has the muted sound, like,
Right. Okay. Right. Very percussive sounding.
Yes.
Right.
So since I was playing guitar all my life, I wanted to have this over my compositions. I still play it like that, but without muting,
Yeah.
this kind of sound, and more pentatonics on it, and the melodies around it, the Himalayan feel,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's why I came about this melody, but little fusion, I mean, like,
Right. Very, very cool. And
Yes.
we're going to go to a station identification break. We'll be right back, and we're going to hear some of Suren's tracks that inspired him. And you might be surprised. You might recognize a lot of them, even though he grew up halfway around the world. There are not always that many differences. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and we'll hear some of Suren's inspirations on his musical journey.
You're listening to WDVR 89.7 Delaware Township, WPNJ 90.7 Harmony Township, and streaming live at WDVRFM.org, with the last 2 weeks' programming always available in our archives.
You're tuned to WDVR. We're able to bring you the music and voices you love thanks in part to the loyal support of our underwriters. These local businesses and organizations help keep community radio strong. Learn more about them at WDVRFM.org/our underwriters. And when you can, support the folks who support WDVR.
The world of popular music is as wide as it is deep. What you usually hear on the radio just scratches the surface. This is Joe Patty. Join me every Sunday evening at 9 as we make it pop. It's 2 hours of known hits, the lesser known, and sometimes the unknown, along with a deep cut or two along the way. We'll survey popular music from the 50s right through today. Make it pop, Sunday nights at 9 on 89.7 WDVR.
we just heard Suren Lama with The Dawn. That is a recording from last year. And Suren will be recording the rest of the album called The Dawn when he goes back to Nepal after this tour. So we'll keep our eye out for that. And Suren, do you want to talk a little bit about the album briefly before we go into your inspirational tracks?
Yeah. So far, the tracks that I'm playing during my tour, on the live setting, I haven't had. I don't have the record yet, So I was involved with so many other musical projects back home, and so I was not able to do the recording yet, But once I get back home, I want to record the album,
Yeah.
what I play live,
Well, that's
So-
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
what you've been playing for all of us,
Yeah.
you'll finally get down
Yes,
on
yes.
tape for posterity.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. Do you want to maybe introduce the first track that you sent me that was one of your inspirations? This is a Jimi Hendrix track.
Yes, yes. I still play this song, Hey Joe from Jimi Hendrix. This is one of my favorite from Jimi Hendrix. There are many songs from Jimi Hendrix, but this is one of my favorite, and I love playing live,
Yeah.
So
I heard you play it the other night. So,
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
before we play this, do you have any upcoming shows that you want to announce that while you're still on tour here?
Mm-hmm. So on October 2nd, I'm playing at Dharma Bums in New Hope. Yeah.
Oh, that's in Point Pleasant, Dharma Bums. Yes,
Dharma Bums,
just
yeah.
north of New Hope. Yeah.
Okay, but this is my first time. I've never been there. though.
Yeah.
And on 4th of October, I'm playing in Lambertville.
At Porch
this is-
Fest,
Yeah,
yes,
this
that-
is Lambertville Porch Fest, right? I'm so pretty excited about it, actually.
Yeah.
Lambertville Porch
That'll
Fest.
that'll be at noon if you want
Yeah.
to catch Suren live.
Mhm.
Noon at Mary Chardon Park at the gazebo on York Street in Lambertville. So wonderful. Maybe you'll catch this song, Suren's version of it. But this is Jimi Hendrix's version of Hey Joe. You just heard Jimi Hendrix with Hey Joe. This is one of Suren Lama, my musical guest for today's favorite tracks. And so I have to just say, Suren, that I'm surprised that you had so much exposure in the early 90s to all of this Western music. And what was it like to was it on the radio? Did you have to go to the record store and search through the CDs or vinyl to find it? Or was it just pretty much everywhere like it was here in the United States back then?
No, it was not all over back home, especially when I was growing up. So I had to go to the music shop where I could buy the cassettes, and it was like that. It was not everywhere. It was kind of hard to get the stuff around, And actually, when I was learning, I've learned so much from these guys, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, but it was limited, so I was learning by ears, but learning by my ears.
Wow.
So over the years, I was training my ears, so that's the thing, and yes.
Yeah. Well, this next track, the Beatles, I didn't have to go very far. I found a lot of this stuff, this classic rock, the old albums in my parents' closet, so I had a lot of
Okay.
exposure that way. But this is one of my favorite tracks
Yeah.
as well by the Beatles. It's
Yes.
with Yesterday.
Yesterday.
So let's listen to that. And you're listening to Surround Sounds here. I'm Shaun, your host, joined by Suren Lama. And if you want to reach out and ask Suren anything in the next 15 minutes or so before Love Spell comes on, you can. And you can do that by emailing wdvrhost@comcast.net. Okay, well, let's listen to Yesterday by the Beatles. That was Yesterday by the Beatles. Here on Surround Sounds, we're talking to Suren Lama, a Nepalese guitarist who is on his first U.S. tour here in the Delaware Valley, and it's a pleasure to have Suren in the studio today, performing live for us. I think a first. You heard it here first. I think, Suren, did you say it was the first time on the radio in the United States?
Yes, this is my first time.
Well,
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
I hope this is the first of many.
Yes, let's hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, this next track that you recommended we play was a bit of a surprise to me, and
Suzanne
it's
Vega?
Suzanne Vega song
Yes.
called "Marlene on the Wall." Can you
Yes.
tell us a little
It
bit about
brings-
why you chose this one?
Yeah, it brings so much of the memory for me, actually, when I was growing, as a kid, my father actually sent this cassette to me, and
wow.
I think that this is the album, right? Solitude Standing, I think it's the album name.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, but this is the first time I had a crush for acoustic guitar. If you listen to the whole album, there are lots of guitar work, right? And I was really taken away. Maybe that was the thing. Nowadays I still play acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
So the guitar work and everything, the melodies.
Yeah.
I really love her. I mean, for the music, what she's doing and the arrangement and the guitar work,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so this was your introduction to acoustic guitar and what you could do with it.
This was the best, which I can recall, which really kicked me in, so the time I liked acoustic guitar. So when I was growing, as a kid, yeah, nice one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's listen to it. This is Suzanne Vega with Marlene on the Wall.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we just heard Cocaine by Eric Clapton. And before that, Suzanne Vega with Marlena on the Wall. These are songs that Suren Lama, my guest artist today, has picked out as some of the songs that have inspired him on his musical journey as an instrumental guitarist, and who has been just touring the Delaware Valley this week. So it's a pleasure to have Suren in the studio today. Thank you so much for coming. And maybe you can lead us out with this last song that you asked us to play, which is "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd.
Yes.
What was the inspiration? What's the story behind this song? When did you first hear it? And
Yeah. Back in those days, I think early 90s, yeah, when I heard Pink Floyd for the first time, I was really blown away. I mean, they are one of my favorite bands, and the sound, the melodies, the guitar work, David Gilmour. I was really blown away, So
Yeah.
there's so many favorite songs from them, but
they create such an atmosphere with their music,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's hear that, and we're gonna take it to the top of the hour here, into Anita Valentina's show Love Spell, which is coming on next at 7. And so thank you so much, Suren, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Shaun, for having me, and I'd like to thank WDVR Radio for having me. Thank you, Shaun.
Yeah, you're welcome. And join us next week here on Surround Sounds. We're going to be talking with Brian Dale Allen Strauss, a local musician and producer, as our special guest. So see you next week.